Hey guys, welcome back to episode 4 of Inbox Insights. We are recording this on Tuesday, the 25th of February. Will, how's your week going?
Yeah, pretty good. Very, very fast, but mostly good. Yeah,
Good news.
can't believe it's already the end of February.
It's going quick, hey?
Yeah,
What do you think
too
we
quick.
should be talking about on the agenda today?
So I think the Klaviyo update is probably the biggest thing. Yeah, that's like the biggest news in email marketing, so good place to start.
For sure. So for reference, this was on the back of a press conference or a press release that Klaviyo did last week where they hold their kind of annual event. And essentially the big update is that Klaviyo is becoming the customer hub. So they're billing this as CRM for B2C. And there's 4 main features here that I'll go into in a second. But how do we feel about this, Will, in terms of, recent Klaviyo news on pricing updates? It looks like they are coming out with some stuff that kind of backs that up, right?
Yeah, like it does feel a little bit like maybe Klaviyo. I don't know, maybe they feel a little bit guilty about the price increase, so they're like, oh, but we have a whole bunch of extra stuff that we're gonna give you. So, um, yeah, I mean, it's also good. Like they are, they're they're like huge, so they can do whatever they want and they can test whatever they want. I'm pretty sure they'll find a way to charge you extra for all this stuff eventually. So enjoy it while it's free. I don't know if it is actually free, but if it is free with your Klaviyo account that you already have, use it while you can.
For sure. And I think this was the point that we made when we talked through the pricing update is, even with that, Klaviyo is still the best platform on the market. And I think
Mm,
with what we're about to talk about now, I don't see MailChimp coming out with anything like this anytime soon, right?
no, no, Mailchimp was, I think their last biggest bit of action was acquiring Amped,
Mm-hmm.
um, and that's probably, I'd say, about as much of a like that filled their appetite for big moves and shakes. So yeah.
Maybe they'll come back in 2028 with some updates. But yeah, I agree with you. There's nothing like this out there. But getting into it then, what is happening? So essentially, there's 4 parts to this. As I said at the start, Klaviyo is going to become the customer hub. So it's going to be a centralized place to manage every interaction with your customers. So, what's a feature, for example, that kind of backs it up? Well, web chat and unified inboxes is kind of the key one. And essentially what this is, how to do customer service in one place. It's going to be a seamless omni-channel place to have conversations with your customers. And that information that you have in those conversations will then be used to update the profile properties of that person. So not only can you give them feedback, can you turn kind of customer support into a revenue center, but you can also, capture more first and zero party data, which you can then use to kind of customize your decision making, but ultimately your kind of experiences that you give people with, flows and campaigns down the line. So
Mm,
that is covering the marketing and the service analytics side. And then I think, what we're also going to be seeing here is the implementation of an AI layer kind of underneath that or underpinning that. And again, it's all about that kind of personalization and using predictive analytics to make people's experience as personalized as possible. So there's a lot kind of going on there. I think that kind of covers it. So there's 3 main buckets. So it's obviously, the marketing channels on one end, they're going to become more personalized with the data that we capture and the AI that we can use. We're going to have better or more services that Klaviyo itself is going to offer. So, like I said, that customer hub, the agents that can, give people kind of chat and support, and a unified inbox to kind of centralize everything across all of those channels. And then the third piece is that analytics side. So, the reporting, but also the data that you can capture on the from the services, so from the customer conversations, that's going to go into your analytics, and that's going to allow you to make kind of better decisions down the track. So I guess first
mm.
question is, I know that's kind of a lot. Does that make sense? And is there anything that you think we need to dig into a bit more?
I think this makes a whole lot of sense. Like, so I want to put a question back to you, and this is just what I'm kind of observing here, or like intuition. Um, Klaviyo and Shopify are like, hand in hand. So like they really do go very much together. And I think they do have some sort of like official business links. Um, I think I heard that somewhere. You might have told me that a little bit earlier. But it seems like what Klaviyo is doing, it's actually pulling some of the functionality from Shopify into Klaviyo, where it's like, okay, Shopify handles, the website themes, everything else, but let's pull the functionality of actually managing the relationships with customers into Klaviyo. Does that seem like what they're doing to you?
Exactly. The only correction or tweak I'd make to that statement is that they're not pulling it from Shopify. It's kind of other third-party apps that they're going after and essentially integrating those
Oh.
features into Klaviyo. So the big one that springs to mind is Gorgeous, which a lot of businesses are using as their kind of CX platform. And it just seems
Mm,
like Klaviyo has kind of taken that. And they've got the distribution as well, right, to do that.
yeah.
And I think you made an interesting point there is I think it's a third or 30%, but Shopify is the biggest outside investor in Klaviyo.
Mm,
So
there we
they're
go.
both kind of incentivized to win. And obviously, Klaviyo is probably the biggest app in the Shopify ecosystem. So,
Yeah.
if Klaviyo wins, Shopify wins essentially.
So here's what I'm like in the board meeting. Here's what I see them, or what they did was it's like, okay, every single app, third-party app that's on Shopify right now, let's make a list of them. Can we build this out on Klaviyo, and let's do it. That's basically what I think happened.
I think on the customer data and relationship side, for sure, I think there's plenty of other
Mm,
stuff that Klaviyo will never touch that will continue to be, the remit of other apps. But yeah, on this kind of retention, customer data, customer info, customer service side, I think they've just kind of pulled everything in one here.
yeah, smart. Like, yeah,
I think,
fantastic.
as usual, Klaviyo is kind of 5 to 10 steps ahead, right?
Yeah, no,
But yeah, it's an interesting world, and I think when we're looking at, I guess, the next question after what is this? The next question is, what does this mean? So I think we've kind of covered the first point there, which is Klaviyo is essentially integrating a lot of the features and even the products that other apps are. I think the next point is, they have that distribution to then push that product or those features into all of their customers. Again, they want to own the full stack, right? And this is all about kind of expanding horizontally. And the end goal is, customers can have a more personalized experience. That means more engagement. That sets a new standard and a new benchmark, which I hate to kind of keep sending shots at other platforms, but like, why would you go to MailChimp if this is what you can do with Klaviyo? It just doesn't make
mm,
sense, right? And I think, with more engagement with this new standard, ultimately comes more revenue that can be driven via Klaviyo.
mm. Yeah, I don't even know if like Klaviyo really considers MailChimp competition anymore, but if they do, their Klaviyo is basically holding MailChimp's head under the water, and they have been for probably like the last 5 years. So
Yeah.
yeah.
It's I guess that also brings us to another point, which is probably more macro, but is that a good state for the market to be in, where you have a leader that's so far ahead that essentially they're running a monopoly, right? And we've seen that with the price increases. It's not good, but what else are you going to do? You're not going to leave Klaviyo because of this, right? So yeah, they have this kind of market leading position, and we just got to hope
I
use it too much.
yeah, I mean, the only way that I see this actually, like, you've got other options. Like, yes, Klaviyo is always going to be the biggest and baddest one, but there's nothing stopping you if you truly don't like the way that Klaviyo operates, which I don't think that they've signaled anything like bad or
Yeah.
any, um, like bad vibes. Other than the price increase, that's always bad vibes. But yeah, like there's a bunch of options that you can go with if you don't want to go with Klaviyo. Like email marketing doesn't change as long as you have your list, as long as you have people to send emails to, a good offer, and a reason to send an email, then you're perfectly fine. Like you as the customer, the client of Klaviyo or any sort of app, you've still got options. Klaviyo just happens to be the best one right now, and they really are good. We
The
like
two
working with them.
counterpoints I'd
Yeah.
make to that, though, is that what they're doing here is they're simplifying your life as a business owner. So instead of having,
Mm,
maybe 4 or 5 apps, you can now do it with one. And that one will now operate way better because you can feed kind of the data from, let's say, the customer hub or, you know, the AI conversations that you have with people. You can feed that into your flow setup, for example, which means your flows are better. And if you have that, you know, spread across different platforms, that feedback loop and that kind of optimization is harder to do. And ultimately, you'll have a less kind of happy, a less engaged audience and drive less revenue. So I'm
very
not
true
sure if
as well.
that's true in practice.
I mean, I suppose once you actually start using these like extra features and actually seeing how that affects, it's like a new toy. We have to use it, break it, see what it can and cannot do, and then eventually find some sort of like groove. But yeah.
So that actually brings me on to the next 2 points, which are my potential kind of downsides of this rollout or this kind of update. One is potential feature overwhelm. So I look at this, I look at the AI space, and I kind of see this point there as well. Is like, it's great that there's so much kind of being created and so many tools out there and so much new stuff. But are business owners kind of paying attention? Will they use all of these cool things, or will they just kind of stick to the fundamentals and the basics? And there's a lot of this stuff kind of like noise and clutter around the edges that, you know, if you spend time researching and chasing the next tool and the next feature, you kind of forget about what you actually should be doing. And I get some of that here where, you know, it's overwhelming for us and we're a retention agency. How is this going to feel for a brand owner if they're kind of running this themselves? Will they use the tools? Will they know how to use them? I don't know. And I guess that's my kind of like counterpoint here is like, you know, it's great, but will it be used? Is it too far? Is it too much? What do you reckon?
I think like it's definitely some bandwidth, and like you're gonna have to spend some time if you're a brand owner that's not working with an agency, or if you don't have someone in place that's specifically assigned to like manage this new stuff. It is it's a few more bullets in the list of reasons to use Klaviyo. So maybe it's just like a sales point, but completely agreed. Like there are like the uptake for these new features is probably going to be a little bit slow unless it is truly like just seamless, like push a button and it starts happening. Yeah, I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, but
yeah, I don't know. That's just my concern. Is like, you know, everything sounds great. What's it going to look like in practice? And we know a lot of brands run retention in house, right? Are they going to have the bandwidth? Are they going to have the know-how to kind of start getting the best out of these features too? I question that. In, you know, a small bootstrap business, you know, maybe high seven figures, they've got a small team. Are they going to be looking into this stuff and using it? Probably not. Is my take.
Maybe the next point here, to take it even a little bit further, it's like yeah, it's cool to have, but like should you be prioritizing this at all? Like there's a like email marketing is email marketing, and as long as you're sending emails, perfectly fine. And there are some other things that maybe, you know, make everything a little bit more seamless, but you know, like shiny object syndrome,
Yeah.
I suffer from it hard. So I'd almost say, you know, if you're a brand owner, like ignore it until someone else figures it out, just for your own sanity. Yeah.
For sure. I think that's a timing point is like, this is new. Let other people kind of figure it out first. You know, give it a few months and then kind of start looking at how you can implement the best bits for your business that are high leverage, that have a massive impact. My take is, you know, as you said, Will, like a lot of this is kind of bells and whistles and probably not going to help much in the short term. I definitely think the unified inbox and that kind of customer hub point is huge. Because, you know we've got a podcast coming out with Zoe Khan, who runs a CX agency, customer service kind of support type offering. We've got an episode coming out with her soon, and when I was chatting with her, it's just drove home how important that side of the business is. Yes, in terms of kind of driving more revenue, but also improving the customer experience. And I think Klaviyo pairing that with email and driving more kind of personalization there is going to be killer. But yeah, I think a lot of the other features are not going to be used too much, shall we say.
Yeah. I think it's maybe this ties in pretty neatly with the iPhone update, where it's like, you know, pretty images and those sort of like emails aren't going to be like, we still don't know 100% if they're going to be less effective. But if you just start including plain text, maybe there's some sort of AI thing where it is easy for AI to send emails and SMSs and messages like that will kind of like cut through simply because it is just text. Yeah, I don't know. I hope they do that. That sounds really cool. Yeah.
It's a product or feature suggestion. I like it.
I'll write to Klaviyo, see if they want to add something else. They seem to be adding a lot of features now, so they're probably open to ideas.
Sure. Shall we move on to topic 2 on today's agenda?
Sure.
Cool. So I think this was a point that you've kind of raised quite a bit, and we certainly see this for some brands that we audit and actually decide not to kind of work with. But essentially, retention isn't always the answer. Yeah, do you want to kind of dig into that?
Yeah, I think just as a sort of a high level overview of the point is that, like, yes, email marketing is important. Yes, customer retention is important, but it's like email marketing is an amplifier. It's not a generator. Like email marketing, if you've got a good product, if you've got good traffic, if you've got an excellent offer for first-time purchases, email is just going to compound that effect. But it's never going to fix a broken product or a bad website, or if you're sending traffic to a landing page that's not converting, there's nothing that email can do about that. I mean, it might help a little bit, but there's a whole bunch of steps that that a customer would have to go through. I mean, ideally as few as possible, but yeah, email marketing is like if you've got a product that people don't want to buy twice, that's a major issue. Like if you got a product that the initial offer isn't sexy enough for someone to make a purchase, hard. Like
I think
it's going to be difficult.
so
Yeah.
you've hit the nail on the head. So I'm actually speaking at an event tonight, and it's about kind of retention. And my intro section is going to be about why retention isn't for you. And I think there's 3 main kind of points that I'm trying to make there. So, like, 1, if you don't have a great product. 2, if you haven't figured out traffic to get in front of that product. And 3, if you haven't found that kind of product market fit, or you've scaled to 20, 30, 40k a month, probably fix those 3 first and don't even consider retention. Would you say that's kind of like a fair first principle?
I mean, I think anyone can have the basics in place. So have a pop-up, have a welcome flow, and have an abandoned cart. Like that's all you need. But as soon as you find
right, those basics, but I think my point is, should you not focus more on your product at that level?
100%. Like I think it's probably like the first thing that you need to do is find that one product or offer or something that's actually just it's so good that it's gonna, whether you have email marketing or not in place, there's like evidence that it's performing well. Yeah,
for sure.
And then email will compound that.
And I think so let's say you've scaled, you're doing 100k a month, let's say, hypothetically. There's still a few other points, right, of where email or focus on retention might not be ideal for you. And we've worked with a few brands where they'll kind of turn around and say, why isn't this working as well as some of your other brands? And there's normally a few issues that, should we talk about now, kind of the product or brand side, aside from kind of what we just mentioned?
Yeah, I think so.
Cool. So the first one on my list is if people don't have a great kind of product or purchase experience. I think, bad product or, delays in delivery or, breakages, things like that, not knowing how to use stuff, product not actually doing what it says on the tin. If that's your retention or your repeat purchase rate is probably going to be pretty low, right?
Yeah, I'm smiling because I think we're talking about the same client. I won't say any names or anything, but yeah, like 100% agreed. There's such a like I use this analogy of like, have you ever tried to walk with a coffee cup and you start spilling it? Like, have you ever pulled a coffee cup and try to walk with it like right close to your chest? like you're going to spill it everywhere. But if you just move it away from yourself a little bit and kind of let it dangle there in the air, low center of mass, it's like much easier. And to tie this back to your point is like there's just some things that you should be focusing on, and if you're not focusing on those things, like everything else doesn't matter. It's all just shiny object syndrome. It's trying to control things. It's trying to lead the data instead of following the data to where you should be going. So, if you've got 1 million products on your store, but only like 5 of them are working, cut the other 1 million, focus on those 5, and then figure out how to put more people in front of those 5 products. Yeah. Is that what you mean? I think that's what you
I
mean.
think that's certainly true. I think I've got a couple of other kind of notes written down here. The next point I want to make is making sure that you have lifetime value in your product suite or your consumption cycle. So don't be selling a product that's a one-time purchase that you never need to repeat buy, that you have no accessories or kind of upsells for, and then be wondering why retention isn't amazing. It's like, for sure, we can convert more people to buy that product, but there's nothing on the back end, right? And I think, on the flip side to that, there's plenty of products or categories where retention lends itself well to. Subscriptions, consumable products that are repeat purchases, high ticket items where you need to kind of convince people to buy, and nudge them over the line. A one-time impulse buy is probably not the best platform for email to be driving 50% of your revenue. Anything
100% agreed
to that?
I'd say it's a little bit of that Apple planned obsolescence that you need to have in your products. You need reasons for people to buy more. So I think it's fine to have like a one-off big purchase product, but then like the immediate step 2 is figure out all the products behind that. Where do we upsell to next? Let's accessories, subscriptions, refills. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Okay. So I think the point we're trying to make there, guys, is if your retention rate is lower than you would like it to be, it's not always the fault of retention. It's not always the fault of an agency. Sometimes it's just, how the cookie crumbles and the nature of your product and your business. And I think, getting started would certainly not put the cart before the horse. Focus on the product, focus on traffic. And then retention is just going to kind of supercharge things. And you're going to be way more profitable and you're going to be able to scale further and faster. Okay.
Awesome.
Cool. Well, I think that brings us to the end of the episode. Will, thank you for taking the time. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Thanks, John. See you in a bit.
Bye.
Bye.